Thanks for coming on this rainy, cold day. If I go like this, it's not because I'm nervous, because I'm freezing. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about changing business from the inside out. My name is Debbie, like Jerry said. I'm the CEO and founder of Stride. We're an agile software consulting company. April 14th, 2005. I was 7 months pregnant with my first child, my daughter Brooke. And despite the fact that I had been on bed rest in the hospital for the past 10 days, I had this ignorant bliss thing going on. I was like, oh, that can't be too bad. What's the worst that could happen? On this day, the doc came in. She said to me, Debbie, we're doing everything we can for you and this child. What are you talking about? Whoa. Except I was lying down, so it's kind of like this. So the doc said, listen, she's not doing too good in there, so we got to do emergency C-section. We got to take her out. When? Well, now. You're already here, so might as well. So I did the only thing that I could think of. I looked down at what I thought I had the biggest belly ever. Turns out, no, she was this big. I looked down, and I talked to my unborn child, and I said, Brooke, the docs think it's time for you to come out. And you're tiny, and you got 2 months left to go, so we don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know if it's going to be easy or if it's going to be hard. And if you come out, you're going to have to come out fighting. And I can't promise you that I know what's going to lie ahead, but I promise you this. If you come out fighting, I will be with you every single step of the way. It's 10 years later, and I still get emotional about this. And if you come out and the fight's too hard to fight, I'll love you forever. So my daughter was born that day, and this is a picture of her entire hand holding my thumbnail. So she was tiny. She was 1.5 pounds. So why do I start with this happy story? I changed that day. And the only way that I know how to talk to you all about change is to talk to you about something this personal, because at the end of the day, it's not about the trends, it's not about the statistics, it's about you. It's about your Brooke story, because I know all the men and all the women in this audience, I know you each have one. A crossroads, a changing moment in your life that influences the way you think, the way you make decisions, and the way you innovate. So when I talk today about change, I want you to think about the life experiences that have led you to be the person you are today. We've heard some amazing speeches so far about statistics and how we're going to make change for the better, and how we're going to put girls in coding in the summer when they're younger and influence their outcomes, and I love that. Today I want you to think about what's led you to where you are today and how you're going to use that to power the innovation that you're going to bring to your lives and your business. So, the story has a happy ending. Brooke is now 9. She's a healthy, happy, regular child in school with all her peers. And my goal when I was lying there in that bed, I said, the day my daughter takes her first step into first grade, I don't want anyone to ever know that she was here. And they didn't. And that was my goal. And for me, I feel like I was put here for this purpose, and I've achieved it. And I will put this child in Girls Who Code. I'm going to seek out Rashima's course, and I will put my daughter in this class. So let's talk about innovation. What does it mean? My friend Cindy, who's a CEO for MLNP.TV. And for those of you who don't know Cindy, that stands for Make Love, Not Porn. The woman's on a mission. Can't blame her. So this woman knows a thing or two about innovation. And she says to me, Debbie, women always challenge the status quo because we were never it. I thought that was so powerful. Jerry mentioned I'm going to be talking about intrapreneurship and entrepreneurship. I want to take a minute just to do a glossary, a definition of the two. Most people understand what an entrepreneur is. Someone that's embarking on a new journey. Maybe you're raising VC money. Maybe you just quit your job and you're out to change the world. An intrapreneur is for all intents and purposes an entrepreneur inside an established organization. End of the day, whether you are now an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur, whether you're a man or a woman, if you have it in you to innovate, none of that matters. What matters is your Brooke story, the way you are going to change this world. My friend Molly, she's a global VP of business operations at ESPN. I said to her, Molly, what does innovation mean to you? What does women-led innovation mean to you? And she said, we can visualize winning with a whole team. We've been brought up to think of the collective, so we look for ways to everyone to win. I love how Molly talks about team, collective, collaboration, and I'll touch on that a little bit later, and it's something that Robin and Jerry also talked about in their Q&A down here. So let's say that you've bought into what I'm talking about, that you've filtered your life's moments and you have the courage to have an idea and innovate. Well, how are you going to do it? What does it look like under the hood? The first thing that we have to agree on, admit, understand, is that innovation is disruptive. By its very design, it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be inefficient. It's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to have fits and starts. It's not supposed to be easy, or else everyone would do it. So where does it start? It starts here with an idea. Whether you're creating the next Twitter or Uber, or whether you're making a skunkwork team inside your company, or whether you're creating the next product for your global organization to bring to market. It all starts with an idea. And then what happens? Boom. You take an efficiency hit. Like I said, you're kind of supposed to. That's the interesting part about innovation. If you have this idea and you're scared that it's going to take a long time, and you're scared that it's going to lose money, embrace that fear. Embrace that fact. This is a fact of innovation. You're going to experiment. You're going to whiteboard things. You're going to be wrong. You're going to fail. You're going to be inefficient. And then something's going to happen. There's a point at which you're going to have to decide, did I mess up or do I have something here? And for me, this is a secret to innovation. Whether you're young or old, man or woman, entrepreneur or intrapreneur, this right here is the secret sauce, the secret inside successful innovation. I've seen it firsthand, I've read about it in books, and I've lived it personally. You have to decide, is this a sunk cost? Have I spent 3 months of my life and $100,000 on something that no one wants to buy, that I can't sell to my boss, that I can't even get my husband or my wife to try out? Or do I have a real innovation? Should I keep going? The thing that I've seen link some of the best innovations, Cindy, Molly, people that run large companies, people that are founders of small startups, the thing that I have personally seen that links the people that I know that has done this best is underneath this blue star, the details inside comes down to collaboration and sharing and a compassionate and holistic approach to innovation. Now, Robin and Jerry talked about the book, The Athena Doctrine. I just want to mention it for a second here. They actually interviewed 64,000 people across the world, 13 countries. They asked them, tell us what is the most critical human characteristic, the trait that is most important for leadership, success, innovation. And they listed things near their top. Collaboration, sharing, communication. Now, the book makes the case that these are traits most associated with women. Are, in fact, women more collaborative than men? Let's put me and Robin and Jerry and Tiffany and Rashima up here for a panel. We can argue that for 3 hours, right? The answer is maybe, maybe not. We all don't know. Women, let's take advantage of this, right? The world thinks we're better at this. Go for it. Ask questions later, right? Involving people in change is a very successful recipe to have your innovation go on and to ultimately hit your goal. And at the end of the day, that's what innovation is all about, ending up in a better place than where you started. My friend Christy, someone talked about Elevate Network earlier today. She's the COO of Elevate Network. Elevate Network is a global organization for professional women. They're at 34,000 women across the globe and counting. So my friend Christy knows a thing or two about innovation. And she said to me, logically, women want to build something that makes sense. Emotionally, they want to build something that has meaning and purpose. And I thought this was so powerful. Again, going back to that point of collaboration, emotionally, meaning and purpose. Talking about that holistic, everyone is involved, people have skin in the game. You know, even if you're an entrepreneur at the end of the day, you have to collaborate and have a sharing approach and a collaborative approach. At some point, you have to find a product market fit. And without demand for your product in a way that makes your business profitable, if that's your goal, then really all you're doing is, you know, sitting at home and spending money, right? If you're really going to have a true innovation, you have to do something, like Christy says, that has meaning and purpose for a set of people. How do we get here, right? So if the goal, like I just described, is you take that blue star, you look under the hood, that's a secret sauce to innovation, right? The goal is to get to all thumbs up, whether that means you're creating the next $10 million business and all of us land on that list with the women-led companies of $10 million or more, which I hope we all do, or whether it's, you know, your department's going to increase profits by 10% in the next year, or whether it's a startup that you've just raised, you know, scraped together friends and family around to 50 grand, whatever that initiative may be. The three things that will get you there are, I believe, and I've seen, communication, followed by relationship building, because first, you got to tell someone, right? It's pretty obvious, but a communicative approach. I run a software company. My entire company is based upon this word communication. Agile is an iterative, collaborative approach, because when you are building technology that brings many of these ideas today to life, if you don't communicate on every granular level, from building the code to releasing the product to talking to the stakeholders to interviewing your customers, you're failing. And then you have to build relationships, you have to get buy-in, and then you get your innovation. Why is this the way innovation is done today? All right, we got close. At home, the interconnectivity was in the middle there. Different laptops. Globalization, interconnectivity, and technology. We've been innovating since the beginning of time, but today, the world is more connected. You see this in all industries, right? Stock market. It used to be that you can diversify your portfolio by investing over here and over here and over here. And today, in truth, many of the different funds that people will tell you will diversify your portfolio actually move hand in hand, unfortunately. But that's, you know, we're seeing interconnectivity and globalization everywhere, and it's benefiting from what I've seen over the last 20 years in the technology space, a collaborative approach to innovation. So I want to talk about buy-in, because that's something that people ask me all the time. Say, great, Debbie, I get it. I buy into it. My life's moments, I have my Brooke story. I'm an intrapreneur right now. I'm an entrepreneur. I have this great idea. I know how to communicate, and I'm good with people, but I don't understand how to get buy-in. I don't get it. What is it? Tell me how to do this. So I want to talk about this for a second. I want you to think about concentric circles, right? You're building momentum until you get up here to acceptance. What does that look like? Just like with my other slide with the blue star, it starts with an idea, because that's where all innovation starts with. If you have an idea, if you know, I loved all the stories that Rashima talked about, the tampon run and all the apps that the folks made, and the kids that see real life problems and they make a solution to make it better for themselves and their peer group. I'm sure that every one of you thought for 5 minutes you can come up with 10 solutions that would make your lives better, whether they be in the technology space or otherwise. Once you have that idea, if you're going to work towards a disruptive change that's going to be sustainable innovation inside your business or without, you need to have these 3 steps. Number 1, you form a team. And that team could be a team of 1, it could be a team of 2. I like teams that have a healthy skeptic. What does this mean? Say there's someone that you know, a coworker, someone that is in your department, in a different department, that has a lot of respect inside the organization and disagrees with you. Put that person on your core team. You want to know why? If you can get that person to agree with you, well, it's cakewalk from there. If you believe so passionately in your idea that you think if you can get this healthy skeptic on board, I would say do it early. I've seen very many successful innovations start by giving a healthy skeptic a front row seat. Now, the word healthy is key there. You don't want to get the naysayer that no one listens to. That's not going to do you much good. You need to get someone that's a skeptic in your idea and has a very good reputation with inside the organization. If we're talking about subconscious, that number 2 subconscious gender bias, and I've done this myself. I have done a lot of successful innovating by having a male counterpart that I know has a very strong relationship with inside the organization to be on my core team. So that's one kind of tip that you can use to take away if you have an idea and you're worried about this number 2 unintentional gender bias that sometimes we do without even knowing. That's a really good strategy to implement to get your idea heard in the way it deserves. So you form your team and you get a small visible win. A small visible win is something that in 2 to 4 weeks you do, and you get other people going, well, how'd you do that? I want to do that. What's that? How'd you do that? It's magic. What'd you do? You want people taking notice. They don't have to know how you did it. They don't have to know what comes next. They don't have to know how much it costs, whose ear you got. All they have to know is I want it. I want in on that. You find a champion, you get buy-in from a decision maker by completing this circle over and over again. Small visible win, small visible win, and then you get your acceptance. I want to close with a story about Ada. 200 years ago, Ada was a student studying mathematics, and her professor Charles said, Ada, I've got this machine, and I think if I give it numbers, it can make computations. Write a paper, tell me about it. And Ada saw something that no one in documented history has seen up until that time. She saw that a machine, if given things other than numbers, music, words, sounds, could make logical sense of it. This woman wrote these words in her paper in 1832. 100 years later, the people that built the first computer used this woman's paper. So Ada had this insight, and she did it with buy-in, visible wins, innovation. She believed in herself, and her work lives on and has been the core of what's changed our world today. So, remember the blue star, and here are 4 things that you can do today if you're inspired in the very least by this talk. Don't settle for the status quo. Embrace disruption and efficiency. Know that you are going to slow things down with your innovations to start, and that's okay. Take advantage of women-led innovation style, whether we believe that it is a true advantage or a perceived advantage. Like Cheryl says, lean in, like go for it. Let's embrace this perception. Communication, relationships, and buy-in are key. And lastly, and I think it's the most important, have the courage to trust your own instincts. That's it.
Terrific, thank you.
Thanks.
So questions from the audience? Okay, so quiet audience, maybe I'll warm you up with a question or two. Purpose. How important is having a purpose to coming up with an innovation?
I think it's absolutely critical. I think without a purpose, I don't think it's going to be possible to get true buy-in. People see right through that, right? And the purpose, it's got to be real, right? And it's got to be meaningful to you, right? And if it's not, people will know, and you might get some small wins initially. I think in the long run, I haven't seen very many successful innovations that lack purpose, if any. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
So I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek also, and when I teach entrepreneurship, I talk about the why and the purpose as well. And what I find fascinating is that other research is now showing the importance of purpose. So Babson has just recently done some research, and purpose is very important to entrepreneurial winning women. So whether you're innovating or...
The thing is with purpose too, I think people make the mistake of trying to match their purpose to what they think people want their purpose to be. But that's the recipe for disaster. Your purpose should be what's inside you, right? Just like when people do exercises on company values, and you can use Neiman Marcus and you can use Walmart. And those values are both very different and both very valuable. Purpose is the same. It has to come from what the truth is from inside. If you try to falsify it or put a mask over it and make it what other people around you think that your purpose should be, then you will fail.
Have I warmed you up? Any questions?
Just looking at your chart before, how often do the ideas change or pivot? So if you start with one idea and then you go through that whole process, I imagine that the idea comes up on the other end totally different sometimes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So yeah, this idea of pivoting is something that there's been a movement called lean startup over the last few years. And the idea of a pivot is like the core of this lean startup moment. The concept behind that is you have an idea, a hypothesis, and you should actually try to fail that hypothesis as quickly as possible so that you can pivot as quickly as possible. So the answer to your question, the question was how often do people pivot? And the answer is all of the time, and that's part of the natural ideation process, and it's to be something that's expected, right? People put these grandiose plans. Oh, I have 200 wireframes. Here's what I'm going to build. No, it's not. You only think it is. What you're going to build is the first thing. You're going to give it to someone, and then you're going to realize you have no idea what your audience wants. And then you're going to, and then you're going to do that over and over and over again until hopefully you come out on the other side. But absolutely, pivoting is something that more and more people are starting to catch on as a reality of innovation, but it's a concept that a lot of people haven't yet accepted. But it happens whether you accept it or not, right? And the people that accept that they're not right the first time, or the people that are, either have the kind of stick-withness to stay, and that I think makes a lot of successful innovation. So yeah, pivoting is key.
So I just want to expand on that a little bit, because I also want to introduce the minimum viable product and just explain what that is and how that...
Yeah, it's a technology lesson. I'm ready. Let's do it.
So if you can talk a little bit about the minimum viable product and how you get customer buy-in.
Sure. So yeah, if your innovation involves technology at all, which today there is a very high chance that there's a technology component to at least some of your idea. The crux of the minimum viable product is you are putting the smallest kernel of your product out into the hands of a subset of your target market with the purpose of getting customer feedback as quickly as possible. Now, there's a couple of secrets here. Secret number one, oftentimes you have to write 0 lines of code to get this. People think, oh, minimum viable product means instead of making a 1-year piece of software, I have to make a 6-month piece of software. No. A guy came to me last week and said, I have an idea and I'm going to sell gift cards to pizza restaurants, so I need to build a software platform so they can buy the gift cards. And I said, we'll just go give them a piece of paper that says gift card on it, right? Mm-hmm. No money, you can give it to them in person. If they're customers, then give it back to them and redeem it. Now you're onto something. Now you build something. So an MVP is that smallest kernel of your idea that you can get physically into the hands of your users as quickly as possible to find out if they will pay you for it, what you expect to be paid for it. Or if you're a nonprofit, if they will use it for the goal that you intend them to. And oftentimes, there's no technology needed, even if your success involves technology. And I'll just say that quickly. A second secret is you're here. It's important to know what success looks like. It's very important to say, here's where I want to get with my innovation, with my idea. And then you also have to understand that step one is not a linear path. Your MVP is likely over here, right? And it's over here, and it's over here. It is almost never a direct path to where you want to be. And people make that mistake all the time, right? All the time.
And I'm going to say that the minimum viable product is just as relatable to non-technology products as it is technology.
Oh yeah, there's a clothing industry. Usually you make a new type of clothing. They're making clothing that you can wear to bike to work, and then you get to work, and then you like unroll it, and people don't know that you've been riding a bike. How awesome is that? And so their minimal viable product, I swear to God, they made 30 pairs of pants. You know how expensive it is to manufacture 30 pairs of pants? By the time you set it up and get the machinery, a fortune. But that was their minimum viable product. They said, we're going to build 30 pairs of pants and see if we can sell them. So every single industry has, I don't know about every single, most industries have a way to create this kernel. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Any questions? So I'll ask just one more. We were talking before everybody got here about disruption. And I know I surprised you with a statistic that the more disruptive that innovation is, the more likely it is to succeed. So is that what you've been seeing?
Yeah, you know, what was the statistic? You said it was 67%?
No, 6 times,
okay.
6 times more likely to succeed if it's a disruptive innovation as opposed to like an incremental innovation.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think there's probably many reasons for that. I've definitely seen a lot of the most disruptive innovation also be the ones that succeed. I think there's some sort of, you know, I kind of want to go back and do a research paper on this now, because I think there's some sort of correlation between, you have to really have the stick-with-itness when people are telling you, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Or if it's an incremental change, you might say, oh, it's going to work, and then someone tells you, okay, it's not disruptive, I'm not really going for something, right? I heard the founder of Spanx talk, and I mean, the stuff that this woman had to go through to get to I mean, she's talking about the crotches, the seams, the pantyhole. I mean, she failed 100 times before this woman innovated and made Spanx, thank God for all of us, right? I mean, that was disruptive, and she had to stick with this thing for years, right? Years. I mean, to the fact where Oprah said, you're going to be on Oprah tomorrow, I'm coming to your office. She didn't have an office. She invited all her friends over to sit in her bedroom to film on Oprah because she was so convinced that this was a disruptive change. And I think that is a direct correlation to why these things have the staying power. These people like almost don't see any other choice, right?
Terrific.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you.
Thanks, Cher.
Great.